Imagine walking into a company where your boss values happiness more than profit. That was Tony Hsieh's vision for Zappos. When he became CEO, Zappos wasn't just about selling shoes. Tony believed that the core of the company's success lay in its culture, empowering employees to take risks, innovate, and truly connect with customers. One of the most famous stories about his leadership was when a customer service rep stayed on the phone with a customer for over 10 hours, helping them with their order, of course, but also just listening, laughing, and connecting with them. In most companies, that would be seen as wasted time. But for Tony, this was the perfect example of how Zappos built relationships through trust and customer service. He didn't put strict metrics on how long calls should last. Instead, he trusted his employees to do what was right, giving them autonomy and the freedom to take care of people in meaningful ways. Tony wasn't just a CEO. He was a connector of ideas, creator of communities, and someone who saw leadership as enabling others to lead in their own way. His belief that happiness could be a driving force for business success transformed Zappos into one of the most admired companies, not just for its financial success, but for its commitment to company culture and human connection. And then, as a summary of episode 38's subject today, Tony Hsieh, the former CEO of Zappos, which later on got acquired by Amazon. And with that, welcome back to Leaders, a podcast dedicated to exploring the best leaders this world has ever seen. So Tony has his own book that was the premise of lots of the content within this episode of Leaders. And Tony was a unique leader that intro seemed to start to highlight there, and we will dive more into what his leadership style felt like, what was the experiences of the employees, the people around him. And so let us start with, before Zappos, he founds and sells Link Exchange, and this is back 1996 through 1998. And so the first company he really was successful with and he co-founded was Link Exchange, which was an early online ad network, and the company allowed websites to advertise to each other, building a network of shared visibility. He sold that to Microsoft for $265 million. Although financially successful, he later reflected that he became disillusioned with the company's culture and wasn't passionate about it anymore. And that sort of influenced his views on the importance of company culture in future ventures. He then invested in and joined Zappos in 1999. So after selling that Link Exchange, he became involved with Zappos, an online shoe retailer. Initially, he invested, but later joined as CEO in 2000 to guide its growth. And his leadership transformed it from a struggling startup into an e-commerce giant. He created that customer-obsessed culture, emphasizing free shipping, generous return policies, and top-notch customer service, setting Zappos apart from other retailers. He does later go on to create in 2004 a list of 10 core values. We will go into the 10 core values later that define the company culture, such as deliver wow through service and create fun and a little weirdness. The sale of Zappos did not occur until 2009 when they sold to Amazon. And so it was a monumental business deal, acquired at the price point of $1.2 billion. But was more remarkable was Tony's condition for the sale. He negotiated for Zappos to retain its company culture and autonomy under Amazon. He wasn't interested in selling just for the money. He wanted to preserve that unique value and environment he had built. He did author the book that we mentioned, Delivering Happiness, in 2010. So that book outlines a lot of what we cover here in his leadership philosophy and the importance of culture, happiness, and personal fulfillment in business. Later on, after Zappos, still during when he was working at Zappos after the Amazon acquisition, He had efforts to revitalize the downtown Las Vegas area in 2012, so he invested $350 million of his own money into that downtown project, which was an ambitious initiative to revitalize it into a thriving community for entrepreneurs and creatives. He then finally stepped down as Zappos CEO in 2020. After 20 years, his departure marked the end of an era. Influence continued to shape the company. The legacy after he tragically passed away in November 2020, and that impact is felt within the modern businesses with leading thoughts on leadership, company culture, and happiness. There are many different tributes and stories from the lives that he touched both personally and professionally. And that vision of creating happier workplaces lives on in the many leaders and companies inspired by that example. So the defining career moments there within Tony Hsieh's career. And now let's dive more into the leadership styles that he created within that. And so his enormous competitive successes, his quirky organizational experiments, and his occasional setbacks and disappointments. As with so many artists, the things that made Tony so easy to admire were brilliant and messy at the same time, which is what makes his legacy so rich and the lessons so valuable. And one of those lessons being to train your leaders. Their teams are all trained to be self-organized based on the holacracy model. As this is built to focus on the work, Zappos adapted the system in a way that worked best for them to focus on the people. All employees can access the same training, as anyone can become a leader in any product or circle. They have fewer leaders than traditional companies, as they have fewer hierarchy levels. Leaders are called lead links. Their primary role is not to make all the decisions for the team, but to provide resources to help and engage employees and trust they will find the way to do their job. Every employee has the authority to make changes to the company and their work. Hsieh isn't backing down from the decision to continue this kind of self-management system, holacracy, in which they really don't report, the employees don't report to a direct manager, empowered to have that more input in the decision making. That concept was kind of created and trademarked by software developer Brian Robertson, who grew disillusioned by the traditional hierarchy of top-down management before launching his management consultancy firm. With that lead, Zappos has transitioned from bosses and direct reports to this concept of lead links who oversee circles or certain projects that require certain roles being filled. Employees are then acting maybe more as entrepreneurs and encouraged to find multiple roles. As described in organizational researcher Frederick Lalau's book, Redefining Organizations, which Hsieh instructed all employees to read, a small turn of a big cog at the top of a traditional management hierarchy can send many small cogs spinning. Try as it might, the reverse isn't true for the small cog. So under his practices, the titles are stripped away, allowing once lower-level employee to have great impact, he said. As companies get bigger, you become slower moving, there's more bureaucracy, and I don't think any manager is purposefully thinking, how can I become more bureaucratic, he also said. Even though they're each self-organized and self-managed and running independently, we want employees and different teams to also have a bias to be helpful to each other, to help the company move forward. The point is that he's not really just an innovator. He's believed in going to kind of these extremes from this management style. He built the company culture that was so intense, so outsized, so performative, that it was by design, not for everyone, which is why he created his famous offer to new employees, which during their onboarding time, they were offered $2,000, I believe it was the amount, to basically be paid to quit without judgment if they could not summon the necessary enthusiasm for life at Zappos. So Tony liked to say that he prized collisions over convenience and shifted his thinking from ROI, return on investment, to ROC, return on connectedness. He wanted the area near the new Zappos headquarters to be the co-working and co-learning capital of the world, that being in Las Vegas. And so Tony's life and artistry, as an entrepreneur, he experimented constantly. While there was never a master plan, there was always a profound commitment to humane and progressive values, a deep connection with customers, a powerful loyalty to culture and colleagues, a passion for life, a thirst to create. We are all richer for the company Tony built and the lessons he taught. His art will endure, but I will miss the artist deeply. And so one of these other things that we will hone in on is customers as well as culture. And so looking back, a big reason he says we hit our goal early was that we decided to invest our time, money, and resources into 3 key areas. One being customer service, which would build our brand and drive word of mouth. 2, culture, which would lead to the formation of our core values. And 3, employee training and development, which would eventually lead to the creation of our pipeline team. And part of that employee aspect of it, the third one, to not only drive training and development, but drive engagement. And so Zappos felt that their most important asset was their people. Their offices and policies were made to make them happy. He visiting the headquarters in Vegas, could see it by myself. They even had a ball pit for adults. That's how they think they will make their customers happy too. They hire only people who are aligned with their core values. They've learned that if they identify a company's core values, hire by them, onboard training team members by them, and truly live them, the team will do the best job and provide the best customer experience. They hire slowly for culture and fire quickly for culture. They offer to all employees, no matter their role, a 4-week customer service training that includes topics such as the company purpose, the core values, and the history of Zappos. Afterwards, they did offer the new hires $2,000 to quit. If employees are not engaged, they prefer to let them go quickly. The cost of replacing a single employee once hired can be anywhere between 1/2 to twice that employee's annual salary. So you can do the math and understand why they do it that way. They also do focus on wowing the customer, and so this is their number one value and helps them align the entire organization around one mission: to provide the best customer service possible. Their philosophy has long been Zappos.com is a service company that just happens to sell shoes. Zappos was one of the first call centers to give employees free rein to do what it takes to satisfy customers, creating a great impression over the phone. They increase word of mouth advertising, increase that lifetime value of the customer. While they reduce the investment in marketing, they use that money to improve the customer experience, offering free shipping on every order and free returns. Yes, you can buy 5 pairs of shoes and return 4 for free if they don't fit. They're also looking for new business ideas everywhere. They believe employees are sensors of the changes in the environment and customer needs. They have taken many ideas of the employees to add new businesses to the portfolio. They also develop strong relationships with vendors to help them come up with new ideas. Tony took this seriously, putting that $350 million into the downtown project to make, in his eyes, Vegas become another Silicon Valley. Let's dive more into this idea of forming company culture. So for organizations, he says culture is destiny. Zappos, known for that commitment to company culture, one of the core values being create fun and a little weirdness. And Hsieh hoped the move to self-management we referred to before would help the company maintain a startup feel even as it grew. So how can you measure the impact of that cultural change? One of Tony's famous quotes is, just because you can't measure the ROI of something doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. What's the ROI of hugging your mom? He affirms that the reason most companies don't focus as much as they should on customer service or company culture is that the ROI is usually 2 to 3 years down the line. Thinking long-term, companies can get the culture to drive customer service, engaged employees, and a great brand. Even retired, Tony will continue breathing and living Zappos' values, especially value number 3, was that create fun and little weirdness. He would spend more time in Llama Plus, a mini community in Las Vegas where he lives with his two alpacas. More on culture here. Company culture stems from intrinsic factors and needs to be established early rather than reverse engineered. He's a big believer in optimizing company performance and driving culture using those intrinsic motivators like meaningful roles with learning and growth over extrinsic factors such as compensation. He said if they got the culture right, then building the brand to be about the very best customer service would happen naturally on its own. To keep our culture strong, we wanted to make sure that we only hired people who would also be enjoying hanging out with outside the office. As it turned out, many of the best ideas came about having drinks at a local bar. He also has this idea of chasing a vision. So many of these leaders that we've covered, we have said that they are, in a sense, visionaries. And so his name is also attached to that. He had a vision that drove him to build an innovative company and dive into the community in ways that had never been done before. Hsieh once said, "Chase the vision, the money and profits will come." More than money, he worked to turn his vision into reality and bring others along for the ride. His passion was contagious, and he truly cared about what he was building. Zappos' amazing culture is because the passionate employees caught Hsieh's vision. They aren't just there to sell shoes. They are there to make a difference and spread happiness. Leaders need to follow this example by prioritizing vision over profits and imagining the big picture, encouraging others to join. He has this concept of people first, so let's dive more into people. Culture are kind of interlinked, but one of the things he says is to remove pain points. So he believed one of the main roles as a leader was to help people, and he often did that by removing those pain points. When Zappos first started, almost no one was buying shoes online, but the business took off because the return process was easy and customer friendly. The pain point of cumbersome online returns was eliminated. Hsieh moved the entire company from San Fran to Las Vegas. With a lower cost of living, more real estate options, and a larger pool of quality employees to staff the contact center, the more solved multiple pain points, including having in-house customer service and improving employee happiness. Leaders needed to be problem solvers who are not only aware of the bottlenecks and holdups for their customers and employees, but also willing to make big moves to remove those pain points. Hsieh showed that creating smoother experiences and interactions takes work, but the reward and relationships are worth the effort. There is also this theme across the leaders that we've studied, and many of them have been boots on the ground. And this is something Tony Hsieh also valued, getting on the ground. So leaders can't be effective unless they are on the ground, building relationships and experiencing their company firsthand. He was known to really jump in and get his hands dirty. He famously removed all job titles and hierarchy at Zappos as a way to make everyone equal. When he started that downtown project to transform Vegas, he moved from a luxury apartment to an Airstream trailer in the neighborhood to be in the center of the action. He was humble and willing to immerse himself in every endeavor. Leaders need to get their hands dirty and jump into what's happening in their company. Need to be humble to participate and learn from everywhere around them. The customer and the employee, so customer service excellence starts from a commitment from the top, must be lived into by every employee. He said also those core values that we will go into here are underutilized tools. Set them collectively, authentically, and make them committable. In addition to that, ultimately it's about the people and their own belief in themselves. The core values, so if you have a strong company culture formed by people who have a common goal, those core values are going to develop naturally. Running that business based on that culture and core values helps create alignment amongst the employees. They developed 10 core values that guide every employee's decision-making process. With those clear values, they don't need to evaluate team member performance in the traditional way. They sort of let the employees reward each other with Zollers when they do something unique aligned to the values. One of the things, as unsexy and low-tech as it may sound, our belief, he says, is that the telephone is one of the best branding devices out there. You have the customer's undivided attention for 5 to 10 minutes, and if you get the interaction right, what we found is that the customer remembers the experience for a very long time and tells his or her friends about it. Every interaction that a person has with us, another common trap that many marketers fail into is focusing too much on trying to figure out how to generate a lot of buzz, when really they should be focusing on building engagement and trust. So let's sort of go into 10 different values that they've kind of formally defined out. Number 1 being delivering wow through service. 2, embrace and drive change. 3, create fun and a little weirdness. 4, be adventurous, creative, and open-minded. 5, pursue growth and learning. 6, build open and honest relationships with communication. 7, build a positive team and family spirit. 8, do more with less. 9, be passionate and determined. 10, be humble. The Zappos mission is to live and deliver wow. As we grow as a company, it has become more and more important to explicitly define the core values from which we develop our culture, our brand, and our business strategies. With so many new employees joining the company as we grow, they want to make sure everyone is on the same page and acting consistently with what Zappos is all about. So delivering wow through service at Zappos, anything worth doing is worth doing with wow. Wow is such a short, simple word, but it really encompasses a lot of things. To wow, you must differentiate yourself, which means do something a little unconventional and innovative. You must do something that's above and beyond what's expected. Part of being in a growing company is that change is constant. For some people, especially those who come from bigger companies, the constant change can be somewhat unsettling at first. If you are not prepared to deal with constant change, then you probably aren't a good fit for the company. We must all learn not only to not fear change, but to embrace it enthusiastically, and perhaps even more important, encourage and drive it. We must always plan for and be prepared for constant change. Because if people aren't making mistakes, then that means they're not taking enough risks. Over time, we want everyone to develop his or her gut about business decisions. We want people to develop and improve their decision-making skills. We encourage people to make mistakes as long as they learn from them. We never want to become complacent and accept the status quo just because that's the way things have always been done. Always be seeking adventure, having fun, exploring new possibilities. By having that freedom to be creative in our solutions, we end up making our own luck. We approach situations and challenges with an open mind. So one of those other ones was building open and honest relationships with communication. Fundamentally, he says we believe that openness and honesty make for the best relationships because that leads to trust and faith. So that kind of encapsulates a lot of the different core values, the customer, the culture of Zappos that he really put at the forefront of a lot of his leadership style. Let's quickly walk through some of the challenges that I think we've already kind of hit upon a little bit. But from his initial prior Zappos company, Link Exchange, the culture collapsed for him, it seems. And so the toxic culture made him realize that that was really important and employee happiness was. So he flipped that and made culture one of the company core pillars at Zappos. Initially, Zappos struggled running out of cash. So in their early years, they struggled to find a business model that worked and faced financial difficulties, taking several years to gain traction. Those struggles really forced him from a leadership lesson to make tough decisions, including cutting costs, seeking creative funding solutions, taught him to be resilient and how to build a sustainable business. Lots of things around the Las Vegas downtown project, which was ambitious but really ended up being a unfulfilled vision. So it was really trying to be a fostering, thriving, sustainable community. The vision of creating a live, work, play environment in downtown Vegas proved difficult to realize. Although there were some successes, the project's challenges highlighted difficulty of scaling the culture-driven model that worked for Zappos to an entire urban redevelopment effort. And he definitely did, towards the end of his life, have some personal struggles, isolation, untimely death that he had. And so there were definitely challenges that he encountered from a mental health and personal struggles that we wanted to highlight as well. And let's finally go into who were some of the mentors, who were some of the people that helped guide a lot of his great leadership at Zappos. One of them being Alfred Lin. So strategic discipline and support were kind of the main pillars that Alfred did. And so he was an early investor in Zappos and actually served as their COO, CFO, and chairman at different times. He was a trusted confidant and business partner, Tony, helping steer the company through challenging times. He taught him the importance of the financial discipline, operational efficiency. As CFO, he ensured Zappos would maintain their sustainable growth and helped Hsieh balance his more idealistic visions with pragmatic business strategies. 2 is Fred Mosler. Culture of empowerment and customer service were kind of the leave behinds from him. Fred was the co-founder of Zappos and senior vice president, working closely with him to create that brand known for its exceptional customer service and company culture. He helped Tony really embrace that power of customer service, and he had an influence contributing to that decentralized employee-centric leadership model. Number 3 was Tim Willis. Tim Willis was Tony Hsieh's partner in his first venture, Link Exchange. They had a strong business relationship, shared vision for creating innovative tech solutions. From Willis, he learned the importance of taking risks, experimenting, being entrepreneurial. And then key lessons that he can learn from about across those relationships from Mosler and Lin, he could learn the importance of empowering employees to make decisions about and how decentralizing leadership can foster innovation and ownership. Culture first. So the mistakes from Link Exchange helped him recognize that that corporate culture should not be an afterthought, and then balancing vision and strategy from them as well. So each of those mentors and colleagues really helped him shape his own leadership philosophy and focusing ultimately on delivering happiness both to employees and customers. And that's where we will leave the episode 38 on Tony Hsieh, a great leader within Zappos that definitely has the company that ended up acquiring them was Amazon, who had has a very customer-centric sort of philosophy as well. So Zappos definitely a smaller scale version of that, and really had honed in on the culture and customer pieces and went to extremes with that. So lots to learn from his leadership style. Definitely a unique one as well, with the adoption of kind of the self-management and removal of titles there. So that is episode 38. Thanks for listening to Leaders, and we will be back here soon for episode 39.